Welcome back. You're watching Business at 9. I'm Shivani Kharat. Joining us from Chennai is my colleague Jude Sanina. Sugar prices have increased in recent weeks from 48.18 rupees per kg on 20th July 2026 to 55.70 per kg on 20th August 2026. The government is closely monitoring the situation and has taken a series of measures to ensure adequate availability of sugar and stable prices for the consumers while carrying. Rise in sugar prices cannot be attributed to ethanol. We have Kuldeep with more details on this.
Well, amid the rising prices of sugar across the country, the government has come out with a statement. It clarified that adequate sugar stocks are available to meet domestic demand, and it also asserted that the government is committed to protect consumers. The government further stated that the sugar production for the current season is seen nearly 306 lakh metric ton, which is quite low as compared to the initial estimates of 343 lakh metric ton. The government also said that to ensure the availability of sugar, it has asked all the mills and state governments to start crushing from 15th of October, and this will raise sugar production by 10 lakh metric ton. The government further stated that it has taken a number of steps to ensure the availability of sugar and to control the prices. In fact, it has allowed duty-free import of 10 lakh metric ton sugar, and it has also passed an order which states that bulk consumers will not be permitted to hold sugar stocks for more than 15 days. So it has tightened the sugar stock holding limits. Additionally, the government has also asked all the chief secretaries and all the state governments, in fact, to conduct physical verification to ensure the compliance of this sugar stock limit order and take necessary action as per the Essential Commodities Act of 1955. The government has also clarified that diversion of sugar for the ethanol production is not the reason behind this rise in sugar prices. It in fact stated that the diversion of the share of sugar for the ethanol production has been reduced from 12% in 2022 and 23 to nearly 9% in 25-26. The government stated that it has been taking all the steps to ensure that the prices of sugar do not skyrocket. And in fact, if you talk about the prices, as per government data, the prices of sugar right now is 56 rupees per kg. That is on all India basis. However, as per the government data only, the prices of sugar has been seen nearly 64 rupees per kg in some states. So this has been the status of the sugar prices, and there has been more than 20% increase within a month in the prices of sugar.
Right, let's shift focus next and take a look at how markets performed this week. The Nifty ended the week lower by around 0.5%. Mid-caps also slipped marginally, while small caps outperformed, with the Nifty Metal and Realty emerging as the joint top sectoral gainers. Nifty IT, meanwhile, was the top sectoral loser, even as Nifty Defence continued its strong run, closing in the green for the third straight week. My colleague Snehi is here, as always, with her market roundup.
Well, yes, absolutely action-heavy week gone by. We've got moves coming in on the market, lots of fresh paper, and the IPO market was up and buzzing. You've also had rules on cash, SEBI crackdown on that front, SEBI FNO survey, lots of RBI as well as FOMC minutes as well. So lots to watch out for, and that everything shaped the week gone by in the sense that we managed to hold on to the 24,250 mark on the index. Remember, the first couple of days of the week were heavily under pressure. We saw a little bit recovery, but nonetheless, we've ended absolutely flat with a hint of a negative bias on the Nifty for the week gone by. Sectorally, it's a joint tie between Nifty Realty and Metal as the top sectoral gainer. Both indexes up 1.8%. Nifty Metal was led higher by Welspun, Vedanta, Hindustan Zinc. That big order win for Welspun led the entire index higher. And Nifty Realty was led higher by Prestige Enterprises, Brigade. You had Godrej Properties that did well. So these were some stocks to watch out for. This was followed by the move in Nifty Bank, Defence, Finance, and that's the kind of move we've seen on the index. What's ended absolutely flat is the Nifty Oil and Gas Index, but then we've seen some bigger cuts on Nifty IT, FMCG, PSU banks, Nifty Rural, because all of these indexes have ended with cuts between 1 to 2.5% each. Nifty IT was the top sectoral loser in the week gone by with a cut of 2.6%, and that was dragged lower by LTM, HCL Tech as well as OFSS. Remember, in the week gone by, we had a downgrade coming in by CLSA on some IT stocks as well. So those were some of the triggers behind the fall in the IT index. You've got Nifty IT, FMCG, PSU Bank, Pharma, Auto, Oil and Gas, all of these indexes that continue to decline for a second straight week. And you've got Nifty Metal and Bank that ended in the green this week after ending in the red in the week gone by. So 0.5% cut coming in for the Nifty 50, absolutely flat for the Nifty mid cap, but the outperformance is seen in the small cap end of the market. 1.25% uptick for the week gone by, and that in a nutshell sums up the kind of action we've seen. For the week, we've closed at 24,252 to be precise on the Nifty 50.
Snehi, thank you so much for those details. Now on to an ET Now exclusive. General Atlantic is in advanced discussions to acquire, in fact, a majority stake in Nuvama Wealth Management from Asia-focused investor PAG. A due diligence is currently underway from GA that has put a non-binding bid for the deal. My colleague Anurag Joshi joins us with more details on this.
US private equity investor General Atlantic is in advanced talks to acquire a majority controlling equity stake in asset manager Nuvama Wealth Management. The GA is proposing to acquire about 54% equity stake in Nuvama Wealth Management from PAG, which is an Asia-focused investor. And PAG is currently owning the stake in Nuvama through entities Pegak Ecstasy and Asia Pragati. PAG has been seeking to offload its equity holding in Nuvama since last year, and the deal had slowed last year, but in the recent past it's picked up momentum, and Nuvama has emerged as a serious contender in the transaction. Nuvama has currently put a non-binding deal in the transaction and is also doing a due diligence on GA has put a non-binding bid for the transaction and is also doing due diligence for Nuvama. But this non-binding bid could become a binding bid if following the deal, the due diligence, the deal moves forward. Now, to give you some background about Nuvama Wealth, it manages 5.3 trillion rupees of assets totally, and the deal the value of PAG's stake in Nuvama for the purpose of the transaction, that's pegged around 17,000 crores. That's $1.8 billion. PAG had acquired a majority stake in Nuvama in 2021. That time, this company was called Edelweiss Wealth.
Moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has interacted with the CEOs and founders of 20 Indian space startups as the government looks to accelerate the growth of the country's private space sector. The startups highlighted growing global interest in tech being developed in India, while the Prime Minister called for wider applications of space tech to improve people's lives. Sumita is back with us with more details on this story.
That's right. Prime Minister Narendra Modi met with the CEOs of at least 20 startups, 20 space startups is what I'm talking about. And in fact, they took stock of the rapid progress that's been made in the sector, and that's currently being made as well as we speak. So, of course, as part of that entire group of startup founders who met with the Prime Minister, that includes participation of CEOs and founders from 20 startups, like I said, and that includes Skyroot Aerospace, Agnikul Cosmos, Pixel, Dhruva Space, Galax Eye, Bellatrix Aerospace, Digantara, and in fact Matanzu Space, Astrobase, and several other startups in the country as well. And of course, these startup founders appreciated the kind of policy support that they have received for the kind of joint strides that they're taking in the ecosystem. And in fact, they also appreciate the opening up of the space sector to private participation and said that it has created multiple opportunities for founders. In fact, the Prime Minister called for wider applications of space technology to improve lives of people, because remember, when we talk about digital technologies or technologies otherwise, it's always about improving the life of the very last mile. So of course the Prime Minister did speak about the kind of social impact that it can have on lives of people. Then of course the Prime Minister also emphasized between greater collaboration between the space industry and several other sectors. The Prime Minister also said that space sector can become a magnet for global talent companies and investments. Now, it's also important to note at this point in time that, space has been one aspect where there has been a lot of investment. It has attracted a lot of VC interest as well. And of course, funding as well in the ecosystem has been rising. So whether it's deep tech, whether it's space, all of these areas where this government is specifically focused on sort of boosting this space, and like the founders said, that private participation, which is why it has increased, because there is government support for the sector that's also coming in. So whether it's related to funding or whether it's related to ease of doing business, that surely is happening.
Moving on, Elon Musk on X announced that Starlink can bridge the gap for India's underserved and rural areas, pointing to villages that still lack even basic 4G connectivity. Starlink has secured key telecom licenses, but its commercial rollout in India is still awaiting further regulatory and security clearances. And
Moving on, dating is getting expensive with inflation hitting couples' pockets. And this, in fact, has led to a new trend, apparently, among Gen Z, and that's infladating. Shaurya is here with us to explain how and why this trend is making sense today. Shaurya, go ahead.
Yes, dating is getting really expensive, and for couples, very much expensive. What are the most common date plans one goes to? A nice dinner at a restaurant, or a movie, or a long drive. But with time, everything is getting really costlier. So how much one has to pay to go on a date today? So let's start with dinner, like how we have it on our screen. The restaurant and accommodation inflation has risen to 6.91%, while the urban inflation in this category is even higher at 7.06%. And food and beverage inflation, one of the most important things while going to a restaurant, is up by 5.05%, compared with overall retail inflation of 4.338%. A romantic date for two is really expensive. So what to do? We can go to a movie, one of the most classic tropes, going to a movie with your date. But let's look at the PVR INOX data. PVR INOX is one of the major multiplexes in the urban cities. So we are talking about that. The average ticket price for one person is somewhere around 280 rupees, and the food and beverages spending for them is going to be somewhere around 147 per person. So that means if you want to go for a movie, grab a popcorn, your total expenses for you and your partner is going to be somewhere around 854 rupees for two. And remember, this is before adding all the extra taxes, and the timings of the movie also differ. Make sure the prices also differ. Now, this is not the only two things that one does in a date. They also go for other things. With time, there are more things that a couple wants to do together, like going on a comedy set or going for some activity together, and that has added the price for a date. But with that, there are a few fun things that a couple also do, which is also not that expensive, like going at parks for a simple walk, or cooking together. And that brings us to infladating. This is a new thing that the Gen Zs have started to make sure that they don't empty their pocket while going on date. If we talk about infladating, this is making sure that one must not peacock to have a good time with their partner. There is less pressure to impress your partner, and the focus is actually on the quality time. One can go at one's place and cook a good food, or one can watch a good film on OTT. This is what infladating does. It reduces your cost. Rather than going out or going to PVR or any other multiplex to watch a movie, they can spend less while having a great quality time. And this does not affect their relationship at all.
Well, infladating, is that something you are also planning with your wife, Jude, over the weekend? Or are you headed out for a night out?
Shaurya is giving me ideas, I must admit, but let's see how that goes. Hopefully, the inflation doesn't hit the roof.
Right. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Business at 9. Goodbye from me, Shivani Gharat, my colleague Jude Sanit, and entire team of ET Now, and hope you all have a wonderful weekend.